Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
we
We
are
are
Don't
Don't
Mess
Mess
with
with
the
the Mommas,
Mamas.
MOMMAS, with our motto.
Motto is you
You
are
are
the
the
protagonist
protagonist
of
of
your
your life,
life, not
not the
the victim
victim
of
of
your
your destiny.
destiny.
And I am Arlaana, and you are.
I'm Carla.
And this time we're talking about the poetic spirit. But
Mm-hmm.
before we do, we're going to offer a couple of shout outs because we're getting some responses from our mommas.podcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what's your comment? And I'll share
Okay,
a comment.
Julia from Virginia Beach says that it was very refreshing. The episode on it's the head, not
Heart.
the
No, it's the
it's the
heart, not
heart,
the
not the
head.
head, and that it was nice to think of, to speak about being self-reflective.
I love it. Yes.
Yes,
And then John from
Connecticut. Mm-hmm.
Connecticut said, "We know these people already, but we don't." The Mirror World, he
Mm-hmm.
loved that because he said he knows so many people that just blame and blame and blame, and they don't look at themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They project all the time. They don't see themselves as angry, and they project anger onto others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he liked the Mirror World, and he loved the concept of don't blame the mirror if your face is awry. Don't try to change the mirror, right?
What about that saying about a life not reflected on
Is
is
not
not?
truly lived. I don't
Yes,
know. Yeah, is that
yeah,
what
I
it
think
is?
it is.
I
I
think it
think,
is. If
yeah.
not,
No,
yeah,
and
we
we
have
threw it out
AI.
there.
We can look it up.
Okay.
All right, on to the poetic
Okay.
spirit,
So
which is wonderful.
what is the poetic spirit? It's an attitude of an open heart and vital connection between oneself and the life within all things. So, with that, I guess I'll
Oh, okay.
turn it over to you for a little bit.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Key qualities of the poetic spirit or the poetic heart. So there's a sense of awe and reverence, right? A person with a poetic heart doesn't see a flower as just a thing or the moon as a clump of matter. They intuitively perceive the profound bonds linking them to the universe, bowing with reverence before its mysteries. Isn't that gorgeous?
Mm-hmm.
And that, with poetry, and as you said, when we discussed this beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to be a writer or a poet or a
Mm-hmm.
musician or any of that, but the spirit, your heart can
Mm-hmm.
be filled with poetry. And
Mm-hmm.
one other thing I wanted to share, that having a poetic heart means remaining unbending in the face of hardship. It is the power to sing because the dawn will come even in total darkness. And when you think about what people are willing to spend going to concerts,
Mm-hmm.
right, like
Mm-hmm.
goo of money, but because it's something we all share, it's that music, it's that sound. And I know you have a really funny story about you and the cricket, or
Oh
you
yeah,
and the,
yeah.
yeah,
Me and the grasshopper.
and
Right,
the,
right.
no,
Me.
the grasshopper
Yeah,
rather.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I'll give this story. I was going out on my porch, and I saw two roaches. To me, that's a horde.
Uh,
Okay, and I couldn't. No, we can't abide by roaches. Okay, so I sprayed the outside perimeter of my house. Okay, but I went out later to look at my plants, and there was a cricket hanging on the fence, and he wasn't moving. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I poisoned you by mistake. I didn't mean to do that. And so I chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over him. And he was there, and I went back in the house, and I came back out to check on him, and he lifted up his little leg, and he waved it at me, and I went back in the house. I had hoped that he would be okay. I went back out, and he was gone. But I took that he moved his arm to say he was going bye bye. You know, we had a connection. Then I had but that reminded me of my friend who was dying of AIDS. And I went to visit him in the hospital, and he was like sleeping, but I chanted over him, and he woke up. his eyes opened up. He recognized me. And I told him, I always loved you. I just couldn't tell you then, but I always loved you. So he got to go with knowing that somebody loved him, And I'm sure he had other people who loved him, but he didn't know I loved him. He didn't know the reasons why I loved him. I may not have been always able to explain that to him, but,
So I think, Carla just shared a wonderful example of having a poetic spirit because, how many people look at a grasshopper and say, I really want to connect to the grasshopper. I'm so sorry that, I hope I didn't poison you. And then even to see that it lifted up its wings and then it sort of said goodbye, most people wouldn't even think of that. So it's just paying attention to things. One of the things I would always have to have my students do when I was teaching psychology is, I want you to, in your way to school, notice something that you hadn't seen before. Because so many of us just, we don't really look around. We don't pay attention. We don't see what's happening, right? Is a blade of grass something to maybe sharply hurt your foot? Or is a blade of grass a gorgeous green that could fill a verdant field? It's all according to your perspective or how you look, and even being able to say, goodbye to him and chanting, for him. And speaking about that, it's interesting that, chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, listening to music, whatever it is, water forms different crystals. Even water responds to sound and music and positive energy or an optimistic spirit. Everything in life responds. Yes.
And you know something? I was saying, why do we have to have wars in order to share recipes? Why do we have to have wars in order to learn dance steps? But I learned from this happening that there was a man who talked about water and about how you should watch what you say over your water, because it takes up whatever you've said, and when you drink it, you put that into your life. The same thing with your food. I wouldn't have known that if I was not, know. But why we gotta have wars to get that? Now I gotta tell you the story about my chameleon. I just have to. I went out again on the porch. Okay, I'm giving water to my plants and I'm playing music for them. Okay, so they'll grow and they know that I love them. And I happen to see this chameleon, and he's just sitting on the fence, and the music was 16 minutes long, a jazz piece. He listened to a whole 16 minutes of that music, standing still, his little face going like this, how he breathes. And when the music was over, he knew the last note and he was gone. I was impressed. We had a communication there,
And yesterday when I was chanting in front of my altar, there was a little silverfish. At first I thought it was a piece of dust because they kind of looked like that, and then it moved. And I said, I don't want to hurt this. It's a life form, right? It's not bothering anybody. So I kept on chanting, and it just hung out, just listening and listening. But then a couple of hours later, it started crawling up the altar, and I said, "Oh,
you
sorry."
gotta go.
But at least we made the cause that we connected, on some level.
Yeah. Oh, I have to tell you about water bugs.
What? Oh, no.
Oh gosh,
Okay.
water bugs. I've had to, spray a few water bugs, but and I named them now. I give them names. Every one of them is Henry. Okay, Henry. I'm sorry, Henry.
They won't tell each other apart.
I chant over them. I say I'm sorry but anyway, you'll have a better life next time, and I let them go.
My cousin, we were visiting my cousin in San Francisco, and oh my gosh, what a wonderful human being she is. And there was this tiny, almost infinitesimal spider. And it was under the stove. She went through so much trouble to get that spider onto a piece of cardboard and then move it outside so it would continue its life. I never forgot that. That's like that was like a meme, you know. I mean, I just remembered that about her, and it said so much about her. Not that, I mean, I said definitely I don't have that capacity that she has, you know. But it was just such a wonderful thing, and I want to share something. The poetic spirit has the power to retune and reconnect discordant, divided world. Art and culture are more than forms of entertainment. They are the living expression of the human spirit and the cords that connect not only individuals, but cultures, drawing them together in recognition of our common humanity. And something else I wanted to say about children. Everybody loves to see videos of little kids because they're so innocent. They're also very optimistic because they're always learning, they're always experiencing, they're always excited about the world. Now imagine being our age, right? And being forever young, always like excited about new things in life. What is that new thing? Is it whether it's meeting a new person, whether it's looking at a flower that you didn't think would ever bloom, whether it's whatever it is, like experiencing joy from the commonplace. And gotta find this Emerson. Okay, Emerson said, Ralph Waldo Emerson, great poet, said the invariable mark of wisdom is to see the miraculous in the common. And former President JFK, John F. Kennedy, said, when power corrupts, poetry cleanses, you know, which is really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
Let's. Did you want to?
I was going to share a.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So this is called Harmonizing Life Symphony. And again, Daisaku Ikeda said that we should balance the three movements to keep the heart from feeling drained. And one is work, efforts towards self-improvement and supporting others. Rest, prioritizing health, sleep, and prayer to respect your life as a vessel. Our lives are vessels. Play, engaging in activities that make your heart sing, like music, nature, or chatting with friends about hobbies, rather than just think winning, winning, winning. And then he was a poet laureate and wrote some beautiful poetry. So just sharing this, and then I'll turn it back over to you. This thing called life with sweat and thoughtfulness, as a novelist writes a novel, with sweat and perseverance, as a painter plies his brush. Seated before the blank paper of the instant and the future. I love it. Seated before the blank paper of the instant and the future. That's we are the protagonists writing our own script, story. One creates a new portrait of oneself. It is a vigorous task to be engaged in. And then another poem, and I know you have so much to share. To strive ever higher, to do even better. The creative process is a desperate struggle to go beyond what we were yesterday. It is a battle against resting on our laurels, against the fear of losing what we have. It is an adventure into unknown territory, and we should always look at life every minute of the day as something new and unknown and something to experience.
Right. And so
Take it away.
I have this book, Hope is a Decision by Daisaku Ikeda. It's short essays, and I'll just read a little bit from the foreword, and then I'll read a few more things.
Yeah.
And I might even repeat some of the things you said, but it bears repeating.
Yep.
Okay. In the vastness and flow, Ikeda finds the source and strength of hope. In story related through the poetic spirit, there is nothing more profoundly connective than to be able to listen, truly listen to another story, a person's story, the land story, to share with a good heart one's own story, and have that story received with a good heart, affirms and continues even when those stories are wrought with pain. Ikeda reminds us that it is humanly possible to share the realities of sufferings and challenges in a healthful and life-affirming way. It need not be condescending or colonizing or controlling. It need not perpetuate the status quo, but in fact can be and is the genius of change. Ikeda calls this genius the poetic spirit, something that is the birthright of every person, reclaiming poetry from the ephemeral and abstract. Ikeda shows how we all how we all know this as the heart's unstoppable outpouring. In the essay titled Each of Us is a Poet, he writes, the poetic spirit can be found in any human endeavor. He includes the work of science and the always ongoing work for social justice and everyday work of living without causing harm. He writes, the poetic spirit has the power to retune and reconnect a discordant, divided world. True poets stand firm, confronting life's conflicts and complexities. Harm done to anyone, anywhere, causes agony in the poet's heart.
Ah, I love it.
So,
Love it, love
very
it, love
good
it.
book.
Yay, yay.
I
Okay.
broke up a fight with that same
She did.
piece of writing there because I run a poetry group, and what happened was two people got into something, and I remembered this and I pulled it out, and it calmed the whole situation down, and we were able to continue the meeting without further
Conflict.
Thank you, thank you. So, what I wanted to share for encouraging words. The institutions of human society treat us as parts of a machine. They assign us ranks and place considerable pressure upon us to fulfill defined roles. We need something to help us restore our lost and distorted humanity. Each of us has feelings that have been suppressed and have built up inside. There is a voiceless cry resting in the depths of our souls, waiting for expression. Art gives the soul's feelings voice and form. Okay, unless we view things with our hearts, we can see nothing. But if we look at the world with a love of life, it will reveal its beauty to us.
Oh, I love that. And with that, oh my gosh, that was so wonderful. Just so you know, we are publishing our episodes on all platforms, whether you're listening or you're viewing. You could see us on, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And then you can listen to us on, I know you love Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music, all that. And Libsyn, Libsyn. And that's every Wednesday. So you could tune in on Wednesday. Sometime during the day on Wednesday, you can look for our new episodes. And the next episode is going to be, and you'll have to tune in to find out what this means. It's called It's All Myoho. What is Myoho? Now, some of us who listen know what that is, but many of us who listen do not. So that's the following Wednesday.
Okay, and and that myoho can have many different meanings.
And when we'll talk about that, we'll share lots of crazy, wild and crazy fun experiences. Talk about synchronicity, right? At its best. Okay, so we are
Don't Mess with the Mommas.
Mommas, and
our motto is you are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
Tune in, Mommas, mommas.podcast@gmail.com. Listen, hear us, and you are the poets of your life. Please create the most glorious life, whatever your state is. You have a mission in life. Please regard your life as precious.
That's right. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.